Hello and welcome to Week 2, Scenario Design Basics for the course In Action, Integration Framework for SAP Business One. My name is Mario Fetzner, and in this unit I will tell you about the scenario design process. When completing this unit, you are able to describe the design approach for building a scenario, define a scenario step using the available building blocks. Before you develop a scenario, you should carefully analyze the integration requirements for the customer. Produce a business process model, especially for complex integration that involve multiple decision points or multiple external systems. The scenario design will reflect the business process model. In our scenario, AB Parts is a small business that supplies machine parts to large companies for use in their manufacturing processes. These companies want an insight into AB Parts warehouse stock levels so that they have more control over their supply chain. They have requested a daily summary of the stock levels held at AB Parts for their items. Let's quickly review the scenario design process you saw last week in Unit 1. For the scenario package, you provide a name, identifier, and prefix. You define the prefix for your company in the development profile. The prefix is automatically added to the name that you choose. You can optionally choose the level of authentication from a predefined list. For each step, you define the inbound, processing, and outbound phases. For the inbound phase, you can specify a step trigger and adapter, API, for data retrieval. The incoming data will be assessed based on this API before it's converted to XML. Input formats need a format control document definition for text and DSV files. In case one is needed, you include it in the inbound definition. For the processing phase, you select the atoms and configure them. For example, specify the SQL code for a call SQL atom. You can optionally add conditional processing of atoms and loop processing. For the outbound channel, you define the adapter API for the outbound system, asynchronous steps only. The integration framework will convert the data from XML into this API format. For text and DSV file outbound formats, you will need to supply a format control document. For this week's scenario, in an asynchronous step, the stock data is pushed out to the customers by AB Parts. In a synchronous scenario, the customers of AB Parts would make a request to pull the information from the database at AB Parts when they need the information. This type of decision depends on the exact requirements of AB Parts and their customers. In the first scenario of this course, we will use an asynchronous step. AB Parts will push the database results to the customers once a day. Before you define the scenario, you need to decide how the step will be triggered, what inbound and outbound channels will be used, if there is a need for additional step processing, and what the final XML message should look like. In this first scenario of this course, we will use an asynchronous step. The scenario will have a single step as there's just one transmission of data. Inbound is void. There is no incoming data. Instead, the step will be triggered by a timer once a day. Outbound is a delimiter separated file. The location for the file will be a shared folder at each of the customer sites. A SQL call atom is used to query the database and extract the stock levels for the items. Transformation statements will be added to the final atom XSL file to convert the query results into the outbound structure. Let us switch to the live system and log on to the integration framework. We are now logged on in the Integration Framework cockpit, and the first thing we're gonna do, we switch to scenarios. On the left side, you see the menu. We navigate to Package Design. And we give our scenario a name. We name it OS File Export. We will save it. And you can see that it's automatically being added EDU. This was the namespace, the development namespace we have chosen for our scenario. We choose authentication, no authentication. And we're gonna save it. So now we have created our package design. In the next, we need to create a step design. So we click on Step Design, and we give it a unique step identifier. So we name it OS Step File Export. We save it, and we assign it to a scenario identifier. This was our recently created scenario. We select it, and you see that there is a notification coming up. Do you want to create a new assignment for scenario EDU US file export? And we're gonna to confirm this message. Now, on the top side, on the bottom side, you see in the actions we have inbound, processing, and outbound. Those three phases we're gonna to do it in the next unit. In theory, there is no limit to the number of atoms you can add to a step. You can add atoms to do branching and conditional processing. A rule of thumb is to try to keep the step as small, as simple as possible. If the processing is complex and involves multiple embedded branches, consider splitting the step into two separate steps. A call step atom is provided, which allows you to call another step. The two steps are connected by an internal queue. Another rule of thumb is to limit the number of atoms so that they will fit within the BizFlow Designer window, without the need to scroll in this window. As mentioned previously, you can include atoms for branching and conditional step processing. If possible, try to move this type of processing out of the step level and into the transformation atoms. Using XSL statements, you can perform the same branching and conditional processing, and the performance is better. Summary. In this unit, you saw how to design a simple scenario to meet a customer business requirement. You saw the process to follow for defining a scenario package, inbound, processing, and outbound. You also learned some best practices for the scenario step design. In the next unit, you will proceed to configure the step atom and XSL. Thank you for attending this unit.